Most people I know have had an experience with long-term care, whether that was a family member, a friend. They've kind of known the pain of either having to watch them go through that medical episode or even help them care for it, whether they're taking time off work or taking time away from their family to deal with a medical event for someone that's already retired. So I'm Derek Mazzarella. I'm with Gateway Financial Partners. Today we're going to talk about medical care in retirement. What are the costs? How they're going to impact you? And we're going to have another video coming up soon talking about what you can do about it. So let's really take a step back and talk about what's actually the likelihood of you needing some form of care in retirement. Most people I talk to think it's never going to happen to them. They'd be wrong. If I said the odds of you getting sick in retirement was 25%, 50%, you probably think that's way too high. The actual number is about 70%. So 70% of people in retirement will need some form of long-term care. That's a staggering number. That's definitely something that you should plan for. If you were going to the ocean and there was a 7 out of 10 chance that you'd get bitten by a shark, I think you'd probably stay out of the ocean. The other thing to think about is how long does care last for? So for a male, typically long-term care lasts for 2.2 years. And for females, it's actually a lot longer. For women, care lasts for about 3.7 years. So you're looking at almost 4 years of long-term care. So when it comes to long-term care, a lot of people say, oh, well, if that happens, just put a pillow over my head. That is not what we're going to do here. We need to make a plan for this stuff, but you really got to understand what really goes into this. So there are really a few different types of care that you have access to in retirement. So there's in-home care, whether that's either a homemaker, so someone that you just need to come and do the dishes, give you food, help clean around the house, give you some companionship. Then there's a home aide, so typically more of a medical need. Someone needs to administer prescriptions for you, give you some help with that. There's adult daycare, there's assisted living, and then there's nursing home care. So that's really when you're kind of the last stages and you're really sick and you really need some really hands-on 24/7 help. So understanding the different types of care is important because most people I've talked to want to stay in the home. And that's generally an option for a lot of people because there are a lot of options in terms of care. The other thing that people really tend to underestimate is the cost of care. So how do you determine the cost of care? So it's really based on two factors. One, the type of care you need, and two, where you live. So if we look at just examples, Genworth has a really nice calculator online. I say go check it out. It's called Genworth Cost of Care. It gives you a breakdown of what the national averages are versus what the care is in your state, or even if you want to go down to your zip code. Definitely check that tool out. But I have a few examples here. So let's just compare in-home health aid to assisted living. So if the national average is $5,148 a month for national in-home care, assisted living is $4,500 a month. For New York, it goes up to $5,700 for in-home aid. For assisted living, New York's at $5,750 a month. And for Arkansas, a little cheaper, so it's $4,185 for in-home aid and $3,750 for assisted living. So it can definitely vary depending on where you live. So make sure when you're doing your analysis and figuring out, okay, if I'm planning how much this is going to cost, factor in, where you think you're going to live, especially if you're going to move. The other thing to look at is inflation is much higher in the healthcare space than it is typically for general inflation like food. Not as much as we've seen in 2022 here, but generally medical inflation tends to be higher. So we're looking even 30 years out, those numbers grow pretty significantly. So just to give example, national home health care goes from $5,100 a month to almost $17,000 a month. Assisted living would go from $4,500 a month to almost $15,000 a month in care, so $14,595 a month. So that's a pretty big difference. So if you're younger now, the cost of care is going to definitely rise in the future, and we're only getting older. Medical advances are coming along, so we're definitely living a lot longer than we normally have in the past. So when you're really planning for retirement, you've got to think about over the course of retirement, if you're needing care for 2 years or 3 years and looking at these numbers, you probably need to have about $300,000 on the low end to $650,000, $700,000 on the high end allocated just for long-term care expense. And if you're retired and you have $1 million in retirement saved, you're doing better than most people. That's not really going to do it for you in retirement because it's such a significant expense. So stay tuned, because I'm going to have another video on how to actually solve these problems and what you can do about it, because I don't want to just be a complainer, because that's what complainers do. So we're going to focus on, all right, we have these medical costs in retirement. What are we going to do about them? So I'm Derek Mazzarella with Gateway Financial Partners. Feel free to like and subscribe if you like the video.